In 1861, 50 years before Bangkok abandoned the waterways and commerce moved to land, a petition would circulate among pearl-clutching foreign ambassadors and businessmen requesting the Siamese king construct a road. "We're getting sick without enjoying the nature in our horse-drawn carriages," they wrote. "We can't survive this primitive life of rowing boats through the jungle." So almost immediately, Siam would begin the process of building what would be the first road ever established in the city of Bangkok. The road would be called Charoen Krung, or City of Prosperity. And it would be. This would be the site of markets and embassies and international banks. But in its alleys would also develop another side of Bangkok, one packed with brothels and opium dens and all manners of vice and intrigue. This was an area at the center of everything, good and bad, that turned a quiet city of sampans and canals into the sprawling metropolis it is today, and one that still holds an endless amount of secrets.
On this side.
This is crazy.
And you got the tree growing.
This week on OTR, we're exploring the hidden pieces of history along and around the very first stretch of Bangkok's first road. The forgotten neighborhoods and abandoned structures and incredible stories still visible today from the city's distant past and not so distant present. Secrets surrounded on all sides by tourist landmarks and thriving business. Right here, if you know where to look. Or at least, if you know someone who does.
Could you describe Bangkok Pat's videos? What do you see when you watch his videos?
Describe Bangkok Pat's videos. He's the hardest working guy in YouTube. The amount of work he puts into his videos it just blows my mind, especially as a one-man operation. I think it's a one-man operation. I don't know, I've never met him before. I've never seen him do a collaboration video before. I assume he's a real person. We're gonna find out. I love his videos. They're such a wild card. He'll be going through this super intense, deeply researched, incredibly well put together history of something. And then he'll just interrupt it with oh, and by the way, here's my friend John. And then he'll just do a half-hour interview with John. And it's such a wild card. And I'm just I'm addicted to Bangkok Pat's videos. I really, really, really enjoy watching them. Very excited to meet him today.
This is a little bit of a different kind of video. It's not quite a behind the scenes for OTR, but it's closer than you might think. See, for us to find the stories that we tell here on the channel, it means that when we're not filming, we're exploring. For every restaurant or neighborhood we show you here, we might visit 20 on our days off. But today, we thought we'd just roll tape on one of those days of exploration because this time, we have a host. And it's probably the single person best known for uncovering the hidden secrets of Bangkok.
Welcome to downtown Sukhumvit. Well, here I am standing in front of a pile of horse here in Lumpini Park. Horse racing. Buffalo racing. Buffalo racing.
I've been in touch with Pat for a few months now, and the timing finally worked out for us to join him for a walk around one of his favorite neighborhoods, and a place just brimming with wild stories and history. And what makes this so much fun is that this is a place that we know pretty well. It's actually somewhere we've filmed before. In fact, the area we're exploring today might be our favorite part of town. It's somewhere we showcased in our video about the best possible day of eating in Bangkok. But the thing about the world's great cities, not just this one, is that when you really dive into the past, you can still see it hidden in plain sight. Decades and centuries of growth and development leave imprints like a trail of breadcrumbs waiting to be followed. And so, follow we would, wherever the road or Bangkok Pat might bring us.
It's always the weird Tinder date kind of thing when you start rolling tape for the first time together and you kind of feeling each other out, especially two people in YouTube who are used to speaking uninterrupted.
Yeah, we can do this again and again. I do 20 takes often for a dialogue shot.
Yeah, oh, we don't. So first of all, where are we geographically? You're looking at a map in Bangkok. We're
at the intersection of Satong Road and Charoen Krung Road. Charoen Krung Road was Thailand's first proper road. There used to be American banks, the Oriental Hotel. You had the British Embassy was where the post office building is. Portuguese Embassy was there. And a lot of merchant ships in the old days were docking on that side of the river. And then one day, all these consulates, these diplomats or whatever they were, wanted to go out for a walk, and there was no road. So Rama IV said, okay, we'll build Charoen Krung Road. And eventually it connected to Chinatown. And Chinatown was a major business area. And so that became like the first CBD.
All right, it's important to talk for just a minute about who those foreigners were who demanded the construction of this road in the first place, and why it didn't happen until the 1860s. Because before the 1860s, there really weren't any Westerners at all in Bangkok, and it was their sudden arrival that would change this city forever. Okay, the very short version is that in the 1680s, the Ayutthaya Empire was in the middle of a golden age led by King Narai the Great. But behind the scenes, things weren't as gilded as they appeared. Narai himself rose to power after other claimants to the throne pretty much all killed each other, and to insulate himself from backstabbing, he'd built up a power base made up of foreigners. Along with welcoming traders and mercenaries from Europe, Japan, and the Middle East, King Narai granted a concession to the French, a small customs post known as Bangkok. Anyway, all this foreign trade brought massive wealth to Ayutthaya, but it also brought those seeking to colonize, and maybe worse, those seeking to convert. Tension brewed between Christian missionaries and Siamese Buddhists, and in the end, in 1688, Narai was overthrown, his advisors executed, and the fort of Bangkok reclaimed from the French after a 4-month siege. And for the next 170 years, Siam would, for all intents and purposes, be closed to the West. We fast forward all the way to 1855 when the British governor of Hong Kong, a man named John Bowring, would negotiate a treaty that would finally open Siam to the world again. The treaty would grant trading rights and consular access to the British, and while it did have its drawbacks, such as the arrival of opium and the fact that it was negotiated under gunpoint, when signed, it also guaranteed Siam the full rights to self-governance and the guarantee of independence. The treaty would prove an immediate boon to the kingdom. It would hold off colonization and bring in huge amounts of wealth. And within the next 2 years, other Western powers had signed their own versions, and the swath of land here would become a kind of embassy row, with consular houses and foreign banks, and that was the context in which just 6 years after the signing of the Bowring Treaty, those new arrivals who'd never seen anything like this city on the water would demand the construction of a road. And it was along that road where we'd see everything that would influence 20th century Thailand come together for the first time in history. Ancient Buddhist culture, foreign investment, construction, trade, and lots of vice.
People call this the creative district, and a lot of young people think it's because of all the recent art galleries and all the street art, but actually it's been called the creative district for well over 100 years because it was creative as in what's gone on around here and all the things that have happened in this immediate area of Bang Rak, Talad Noi, the river. All these things have happened, have had a bearing on Thailand's modernisation. There used to be a sign here up until not long ago actually. The sign was still there, and the Prince Theatre is down this alleyway, and it was originally in the 19th century it was for very rich Thais coming and watch Chinese opera. And people got drunk, there were gambling dens around here, opium dens, in all these alleyways. And it became a casino in the early part of around 1916. It became Thailand's only casino, but there was stories of brothels, drunkenness, fighting. They would, you know, turn up make the band play louder to get people drinking, and it became a really bad area. So they shut the casino down, and then it became a silent movie theatre, and then it was a cinema for years and years. It spent its last tragic days in the late 90s as a porno theatre, and then got left derelict. And now it's the Prince Theatre Boutique Hotel.
So I'm interested, while we have the quick air conditioning break from our walk around, you know, who are you? Where did you come from? How did you decide to start a YouTube channel? I'm interested, not on behalf of our viewers, I'm interested as your viewer, you know, what's your story?
I started a channel right at the start of COVID. And I was looking at other channels on YouTube. I wasn't really a YouTube watcher. And I thought, I've got to do something different. Everyone's doing Bangkok during COVID. This is what this area is like during COVID. They're all masked up in the videos and walking around saying, hey, isn't this terrible? I thought, I've got to do something else. And I've always been crazy about history. From when I was a kid, I researched my own area where I grew up, went to the library. There was photos, maps, everything. And I thought all history would have to be in the same kind of detail. So I thought I would do parts of Bangkok, and I looked on YouTube to see if anyone was doing it, and there was no one. There's a couple of YouTube channels in Thai that scratch the surface, but no one's going into deep research. And I love the research. It's not a chore. It's not something that I think, oh God. I actually love looking for these. And when you find old pictures, old photos, like this theatre, I found a photo from the end of the 19th century of this place open, and them dancing on stage. And to me, that's my money shot. Do you know what I mean? I particularly like this street for a couple of reasons. One is that it's full of cats. You realise when you go to neighbourhoods where they don't see any foreigners coming through, and I think they feel privileged that a foreigner would want to come down and have a look. You know, of course you have to respect privacy and stuff, and I'm not one of those YouTubers who walks around with the camera out.
The nice thing for me, as we're still rolling sound, is that I'm not somebody who feels comfortable putting my camera in somebody's face, reaching into somebody's house. Jasper is, so it's great. I get to pretend like I have nothing to do with it. I can just kind of hide out over here while Jasper just like, you know, jumps in somebody's living room and we get the shot and it looks great on camera, but I get to have plausible deniability. Okay, so tell me where we're going next.
Ghost Tower is down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, 97 it was abandoned, and the architect apparently was a major gangster. People blamed him for people losing money, but officially it was the financial crisis. Now he's still the landowner, now his son owns it. And recently they came on TV to tell people to stop coming here, to stop trying to get to the top, because there were some guys who came and did a parkour video. And there's a warrant out for their arrest.
Parkour. Remember when parkour was a thing?
Is it not still a thing?
I don't think it's still a thing.
It's
Yeah,
not
when you
as
bring
fresh,
They were
I
filming
suppose.
parkour videos here. I remember there was a time when that was a thing that happened. That people
Oh, those
were-
guys were nutters. I couldn't watch the second half of that video. I'm scared of heights.
So,
And the guy had a camera in his hand and he was jumping, somersaults, and landing on a little thing about that big.
Yeah,
right
no,
at the
it's-
very top. I thought, you crazy. Yeah, I was flabbergasted.
I'm
And there
perfectly
actually
fine,
used to be a piece of paper on here somewhere with their picture on it saying, and the warrant out for their arrest. There's a warrant, yeah. Before, you used to be able to pay the security guard to let you in, and people have tried to get in, but now there's a bit of graffiti. It says, "Bring back the guard." People have obviously not been able to get in. There's a bunch of motorbike taxi guys and a street store around on the street front. They can get in, and I think they take a piss in here.
okay, what's our next destination?
Yeah, we're going to take a left and go a little bit further down.
And do some follow
Oh,
No way! Seriously, Adam, nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you. Thank you for saying hello.
yeah, thank you. This is quite a famous bridge. It's actually got heritage status. It's Pan 53. And a lot of the bridges over canals had names and numbers, like royal names. This bridge, what hasn't always been here, it used to be a bridge over a canal in Chinatown that was filled in.
About 2 kilometers that way, is that right?
Right up near to the Chinatown gate. And then that canal got filled in, so they put this bridge here, but they had a spare little bit because it was quite a long bridge. So they've cut another bit off and put it up the road over another canal. So we saw the bridge back there, Pan 53, and like I say, it was part of a bridge across a bigger canal. And when they put it here, they had to cut a piece off it, and the piece they cut off is actually over this canal here. And that bridge was given heritage status, which should mean that this bridge surely has heritage status as well, because it's part of it.
But it does not.
I don't know. I've always wondered.
So this is the other part? Or
This is the other part here.
how did you figure this out? I would never look.
I read about it when I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
researching. Someone said, "Oh yeah, yeah." It's the other part of it is further down the road across another bridge, and then I came and checked. Well, it's the same. It is the same, but it's not as well kept. Look, it's broken. Yeah.
I always think it's funny when you look in the river and see
What do you have?
hello, hub. When you look in the river and you see it in the canal and you see a dead fish, but it's clearly been deep fried already. It's just somebody's dinner. Just got, right?
These kids are always here. I haven't been here for months, and they're still here.
Where we first met you today was like there.
Yeah.
It's so interesting how much from block to block this city feels like a completely different universe. And it's like that in a lot of parts of Bangkok, especially obviously in the older parts of the city. But it's so interesting that literally, like, if you were to ask me where we are now in relation to where we were 4 hours ago, I would say we were quite far. We're not. We're just
Yeah.
across the street and up the block a little bit, and it's a different, you know, it's a different community, it's a different sort of architecture, it's a different era of buildings. You know, when you can look at a building in Bangkok, when you really, I mean, like that looks like 1985, right? And the towers behind it are obviously a little bit newer than that. These houses are probably the 10s to 1930s, the wooden houses with some of the clapboard metal siding, and that to me is Bangkok in a sense. You have these real throwback vintage neighborhoods that are from completely different eras going back to the 1780s. And as recently as the 1980s and 90s, there's still neighborhoods that feel like a throwback, which is kind of fun.
Sure. Yeah, it's true.
And here we're in the middle of all of them. We have kind of
That's
passed
funny.
through.
When I started doing more videos, some of them would overlap, because if I do an area and I think how much further should I go really? Because it will be more time. I'll have to talk more about it, maybe do a bit more research. But as I've started to do more videos, they've overlapped. It's like when I did Sapan Taksin and Bang Rak, it was all supposed to be one video, but it was just too much.
You and I talked when you were working on your video on the Klong Deutschland, and that's one that we did something and taped there as well. And the reason why we filmed in that community and why it was so hard to write, and I feel a lot of our videos that we do, I feel personally a lot of pressure when I'm writing them, because I want to do justice to the story. Because how many things that you've seen in your 20 years in Thailand, for me in the 12, 13 years that we were in China, there were entire cities that don't exist anymore, that were flooded by dams that were built, or that were, there are, how many, I lived in an 800-year-old neighborhood that's gone now. There's just so many things that have been a part of our life it's not there forever. And when we're cataloging these things and we're now recording a living history, I don't know, I feel pressure to tell the story the right way, or at least to do justice to the people that we speak to and the stories that we're trying to tell, because that's what we're doing. We're recording a history as it's still, the history isn't, it's not like there's history and then there's now, and now lasts forever. This is a part of history. We're at a moment in time right now that tomorrow's going to look different than today. And what we record and the stories that we're telling, to me, it's important to make a record that will survive past when we're on this planet. That's my hope. I know that's the goal that we're trying to achieve.
I always have half an eye on some kid in 20 years' time wants to do what I'm doing now. He can get my videos and have a look at what this city was like. So I always do big long shots of the whole street, because I know that when I look for historic photos, I might get a photo of that part of the street here from 1926 or something, and it might only have half of that row of shops or a little bit, so I deliberately do long shots of whole streets, so whoever looks back to start a channel like mine in 20-30 years time, they'll say, wow, that is really what it was like. We can see everything. What's good is if you go on Google Earth and you want to get a picture of this neighborhood, whoever was working for Google actually stood up on the expressway and took a picture of all the roofs and everything. And you can see just how ancient some of these houses are, and how it's probably remained unchanged for well over a century.
The neighborhood here is tucked between the nameless canal and the oldest road in Bangkok, next to a highway overpass and in view of skyscrapers and expensive houses and graffiti-covered walls. It's a village with a name that implies modern prosperity, Saturn Soi 19, and yet which somehow still has the echoes of a past dating back to the days Soi Charon Krung was built, when this area was settled by working-class Thais who serviced the mansions and consulates of the rich foreigners who lived just to the south. Now, I used to live in a neighborhood like this in Beijing, one of the last hutongs standing surrounded by development. My friends and I used to joke about how whenever we'd walk around, we'd always see the old folks sitting on the steps, the old people just staring and watching the world go by. It hit me one time what it must have felt like to live an entire life in a neighborhood that stayed the same while everything else has changed. Like, in Bangkok terms, imagine you were 85 years old today. That would mean you were born in 1938 into a country still called the Kingdom of Siam and not renamed Thailand until the following year. You'd have grown up in a society that still followed old traditions, old styles of dress and old customs and old dialects and trade and commerce on the canals. But it would have also been the first years of Prime Minister Pibun Songkram, who modeled his government after Mussolini and would ally with Japan during World War II. When you started elementary school, your country would be at war with France and plagued by racial tensions at home, and you'd have been 8 years old when the king was assassinated in his bed at the palace. And yet, before you'd finished high school, Thailand would have found its footing and the economy would prosper, and through rice exports and an alliance with the United States, a wave of construction would sweep through the capital and Bangkok would transform into a modern metropolis. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, as the rest of Southeast Asia devolved into war and crisis, you'd watch a boom of both new buildings and the presence of the American military. Bangkok, a city of about 800,000 when you were born, well, by the time you turned 30, it would have more than tripled in size, with migrants flocking from the countryside bringing overcrowding, more roads and big buildings, and things like, well, Isan food. Within another 10 years, the population would have almost doubled again to close to 5 million, and that's not including the foreign tourists that were starting to show up, partying in Nana or Khao San Road on their way to island hop or visit the elephants in Chiang Mai. From 1938 to 2023, the average annual income in Bangkok has increased by a factor of 32, and the population has multiplied by 15. You've witnessed 11 government coups and 18 new constitutions. And you've watched a society move from canals to highways to a new subway, SkyTrain, and world-class airport. The amount of change you'd have witnessed as an 85-year-old born and raised in one single community in a place like Bangkok would be impossible to quantify or process. So of course you'd spend your days sitting outside on the steps of the same wooden house where you'd always lived, watching the world go by. What a world it must look like.
97 in London, some family friends, they had a really busy Thai restaurant and bar, and I went and worked there as on the floor, and I did the bar and the money and stuff and the coffees, and I was there for about 3.5 years, and that was my first time really, after my mum died in '85, of eating Thai food, of getting back into Thai food, and I recognised some of the tastes. And it was, I suppose you could say, Thai sausage. They had northeastern sausage. They made it themselves. Or eating squid. Green curry was popular. At the time, the restaurant was really busy in London because of the beach. The book had just been popular.
Before the movie, but after.
Before the movie, yeah. The beach it sold millions, and people were going to Thailand and backpacking and stuff, and then they were coming back and then visiting the restaurant, and it wasn't like a normal Thai restaurant. It had all the great menu and everything, but it had a bar and stuff. We're going to go across here.
Okay. Is it still open today, this restaurant, or is it long?
Yeah, it's still open.
Yeah.
How
many years now for this restaurant?
It opened in '96, so
a while.
It's called Cats because the owner, her nickname is Meow.
Okay, so you're out of town, you go back home, you go travel, you come back to Thailand, let's say you've been away for a little while. What's the first meal you have when you get back? What's the first thing that you say, you know what, and again, it doesn't need to be Thai food, but what's the first thing that you say, you know, I haven't been to Bangkok in a while.
I need something that bites me, so it might be salted fish fried rice or something.
Oh, that's one of my absolute favorites.
Absolutely hot Parkour. I mean, if there's anything I don't really like, khao soy, I don't see the attraction, the bandwagon about that. Gary, he bloody started that, I think. The khao soy, him and Paddy Doyle, and everyone wanted to eat khao soy, and I tried it. I thought, what is this? You know, it's like a leg of chicken on this thick sauce with some crispy wontons. Is this it?
Tell me what you have planned from now until we finish our walk. And I should say, before I forget to say this,
Thank you for doing this. It's such a pleasure. Your
It's
videos are great.
Absolute
you know,
pleasure, man.
yeah.
Absolute pleasure.
What do we have
from
planned?
here? Charing Croom Road, and then there's the canal with no name, with the other half of that bridge. Along there is the famous street art area. A couple of canal communities. There's the lady, the cat feeder, who feeds cats. Probably less interesting for those not into the cat side. And then from there, there's a little community, truck community, that's over 100 years old, quite narrow. And then after that, there's the most haunted place in Bangkok. A lot of stories, a lot of bodies, and it might blow the viewer's mind that this was on their doorstep. The graves, you can start to see the graves. There's a Chinese Christian cemetery.
Right in the middle of downtown Bangkok, there's the strangest and most unexpected park I've ever visited. Here, runners jog around a path while old men lift weights in a public gym, and all of it between acres and acres of graves. Graves left behind by Chinese Teochew migrants starting in 1899 until a generation ago when this city banned burials. And they're not the only ones who are buried here.
So there's three parts of the cemetery. There's the Chow Chow Christian part. There's another part managed by Hainan.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And there's another part managed by the Po Tek Tung Foundation. They're the body snatchers who go to the scenes of accidents and fires and pick up the bodies. And all their unidentified remains and crash victims are also here. And they are the source of the ghosts.
This one is around 150 years ago. This was a ceremony for Chinese people.
In Chow Chow Cemetery, yeah?
Yeah. We dig the bones and bury this to there. That one is the big tomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big tomb. In here, it has around 200,000 skeletons in here. Maybe around, maybe more than. Yeah.
Is your family
Yeah,
Chow Chow Chinese Thai as well? Or?
Yeah. My great grandmother is born there.
Do you want to have a look at the urns?
We've come this far.
Yes, we've come this far. We can risk
We can't go 99.9%
someone
of
was
the way.
once there. I'm sure we can risk a snake. I've got shoes on.
Wow. That's what it looks like, isn't it?
You got all these, and you got all these as well. On this side,
This is crazy.
and you got the tree growing over the top of it. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very Harry Potter, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and you probably go in the tree and into another world.
So these are urns. Just to describe for our viewers what we're seeing behind the...
They would have been, yeah,
Cremation urns.
ashes
Yeah.
put here, and then what it looks like is they've been taken by maybe the families or something.
So Jasper,
I
for
read about
B-roll's
it.
sake, I'm gonna need you to stay here overnight. You need to get this really in the moonlight. Like it might be a full, it was a full moon like 2 nights ago, so you should have some nice moonlight.
We'll give it 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'll send you some grab delivery. If the grab delivery guy will come in here. What?
Are you sure?
That is spoken like a true member of the media. This is like where you'd get married in a Tim Burton movie. It feels like this is on the set of Corpse Bride or something like that.
Sometimes we get asked if we have plans to expand OTR beyond Bangkok. And the answer is yes, of course. We never set out to be a Thailand-focused channel, and at some point we'll push further. But it is pretty wild to know that even if we stay here, we'll never run out of material. Now, I explore and search every corner in Bangkok because I have a YouTube channel that requires it. But it does make me wonder whether I'd have found just as many incredible stories, great meals, and pieces of history in other places where I've lived. Beijing and Shanghai, Sumatra, Hong Kong, hell, even Charlottesville, Virginia. I do feel a little bit of regret that between working long hours and settling into a routine, I might have left those places without finding all of their secrets too. I'll have to change that one day. And maybe, if you set out anywhere to do some exploring of your own, it's not a bad idea to start with the first road ever built in town.
When we started rolling tape this morning, I said that we didn't know what the plan was for today beyond turning it over to our friend Bangkok Pat. So we started today at the famous Guejub Mr. Joe. We finished today in the Chaozhou Cemetery at sunset, and somehow that feels right.
Yes, and I'm trying to hold you here for another 20 minutes because that's when they lock the gate.
I sold my soul years ago. They can't do anything to me.
Well, they'll try.
Yeah.
And I get commission for this.
For the soul.
for handing over your body to them.
I'm gonna take so much for laughing in the cemetery. No offense meant by that.
I'm sure they'll understand.
Deep respect.
They'll understand.
Subscribe to the channel for more from OTR. Thanks to everyone who supports us on Patreon. We're putting up as much new content over there as we possibly can. Check the links below for our website, Facebook, and Instagram. So long, we'll see you next week.
Man, this is so good.